At the start of this manga, our MC got hospitalized by his childhood friend's bullying. And she still haven't stopped her bullying, even after he got hospitalized. And she tells him that he is really useless as a boyfriend too. Afterwards she tells to him that she won't break up with him now, since she is a kind girl. But then MC says let's break up. This made her shocked, since it came out of nowhere. And then time back, when they were just kids, she asks him if he is trying to make an elephant, to which he happily replies he is. And she smugly looks at him. Afterwards she started to mock him by saying that he is acting so weird. And because of that no one is talking with him. But she is kind, that's why she is talking to a weird guy like him. After hearing that he just said sorry to her for being weird. And in the end he never fight back. And time goes on and she was complaining to him for not taking notes for her when she was sick. But hearing that he still apologizes to her. Even though he knows that she is being unfair here. After that time goes on. Now they are dating, and she is still complaining to him for not replying her text for 30 minutes. But that still continued until he went to high school. And one day she asked him to pick her up from a place. And after looking at that text, he thinks maybe her friends will be there too. But then at the same time he had a stomach ache, which was getting worse and worse. And he decides to tell her that he can't pick her up today since he got stomach ache. But then he decides not to tell her that, since he will get scolded for hours if he said he can't. And before he could head out, he got another message from her which is telling him to pick her up in 5 minutes. After seeing it he replies to her that it's raining outside, so he can't reach to her in just 5 minutes. But she started to scold him again, saying that's why she is wanting him to pick her up in the first place. And she tells him that she might get cold because of him arriving late. And that's why he is a loner. Afterwards he started to run in the rain. And then he thinks to himself that it will be bad if he waits her up, since her mood will only get worse. And he even thinks that she is afraid of the dark, so he should really hurry. And in the end he arrives and he looks at her. And in the rain he messages her. And she looks at her phone. And she started to reply to him. And she says that he took so long to come to her. So now he have to wait until she is finished. And it was rainy. He was just standing outside. And his stomach was paining more. And her friends comes out of the restaurant saying that he actually waited for an hour so he wins the bet. Afterwards she even made fun of him, saying that he is wet and looks like an seaweed. And he realizes that they were just betting on him. But then she started to say that, no matter what she says, he will always obey her. And she goes on by sitting in front of him. And she directly asks him, isn't it true, senpai? But all he was thinking is that his stomach ache is getting stronger and stronger. And he goes on by thinking that he should have went home without her, since at this rate he will just die. Afterwards at the hospital, she was angrily looking at him. And then she confusingly asks him in on what does he mean. To which he says that she is always trying to tell him that they want to break up. And now this will be their last day of dating. And then she smilingly sits on the bed. Then she says that he have no rights to reject her. And then she says that it's making her angry enough to kill him. But he was just speechless. After that she goes on by saying that someone like him doesn't have the rights to reject someone like her. And even if they break up there would be no one to talk to a bum like him. But hearing that he says even if it's true there is no reason for him to date her. And he goes on by kicking her out of the hospital room. Saying isn't she glad that she getting freed by a useless boyfriend like him. And with an embarrassed face she looks at him. But he still pushed her out and closes the door. And she started to bang that door, saying that isn't this is the part where he should beg her for forgiveness. But then a nurse comes in and tells her to shut up, since it's an hospital. Hearing that she apologized to the nurse. And she started to act by saying that they got into a fight. And she lost control when her senpai got sick. Now she will leave and for today. And she even bowed down to the nurse. Afterwards before leaving she was really irritated. And suddenly he got a text message saying that she is getting annoyed now. So he should start apologizing. But he just left her on read, which made her feel embarrassed. And she started to text him a lot saying that she was one that is looking after him. And he have no friends so he will be alone without her. But without replying to any of her text, He just goes on by blocking her. After blocking, he gets up and looks outside of the window, and he looks at his hair. And back then when he was a kid, she calls him and asks him if he had ever looked at the mirror. And he asks her why. To which she says that if she ever had a face like him, she would hide it, since people might bully her because she is looking like that. And she goes on by telling him to hide his face by growing more hair, so he won't get bullied. And with a happy face she tells him to do that. And then he goes on by thinking that Hanabi always feeding him something that could lower his self-esteem. And he thinks that he will cut his hair once he gets out of this hospital. Afterwards he went to a barber shop, and he got a fresh new haircut. And at the next day he thinks that's when their 13 years relationship comes to an end. After that he walks through the hallway, and everyone is looking at him. And before he could enter the class, some girl says, "Who is that hottie?" And inside the class all the girls were wondering maybe if he is a transfer student or what. And they started to blush by saying that he is their type. And Ichinos was confused, and he looks back thinking maybe they are talking to someone else. And then he looks at the girls, which made them to blush. And all of them were about to pass out by his glaze. And then suddenly someone comes in by laughing. And he says that they were just talking about him. And his name is Ibera Haruta. And he goes on, asks him if he doesn't realize how good he looks. To which he replies with that, this is the first time someone had ever said that to him. To which he says all this time his face was hidden under his front hair so nobody could look at his face clearly. And he goes on by looking at the girls' side. And they were shocked to realize that it was him, and they even says that he was an hidden gem of the class. While blushing so hard. And all the girls couldn't able to keep it together by talking with him. And then Haruta asks him on why this sudden change. To which he says that he wanted some change. Hearing that, Haruta tells him that he looks better at like this. While some girls are blushing in the back. And this shocked him. And he goes on by thanking him for the compliment. And then with a smiling face he says he is happy to hear that. And this made all the girls to be rizzed up. And even Haruta got rizzed. And then Haruta changed the subject by saying that he really needs to learn lots of things. Afterwards he started to apologize by saying if he had made them uncomfortable by hiding his face all this time. And then he goes on by asking everybody to talk with him since he is also planning to do that as well. And everyone just smilingly accepts it. Which made him happy. After a while they were going home together. And then Haruta says that he is really good with talking with people. To which he apologizes for always being gloomy and everything. And he even thanks him for talking with him. After hearing that, Haruta tells to him that he is such a good boy. To which he just says both his personality and looks are normal. And this made the girls go wild. Afterwards Haruta tells him that his look is like a national level, so he can't just show his smile to everyone. Hearing that, Ichinos was confused. And he goes on by laughing and says what is he even talking about? And this made everyone in the group get rizzed. Even the boys. And all the girls started to hug themselves saying that he is so cute. And suddenly Ichinos notices something. Which was his ex Hanabi. And after looking at her he realizes that she is really angry. And he goes on by thinking maybe she is angry because of his hair or the messages he ignored. But either way it doesn't matter to him. But then Hanabi called out to him. And Ichinos looks at her confused. And then he remembers her saying to him that if everyone knows that they are dating, they will tell him to back off, since she is way out of his league. So she tells him to not stay quiet about their relationship. And then Haruta asks him if he knows her. To which Ichinos just straight up ignored her. And they left without saying any word. Afterwards, with an embarrassment in her face, she says him to remember this day. And then at the next day, it was in maths class and they have to do self-study. And Ichinos was confused since he finished earlier than he thought. And he goes on by thinking that there is still 15 minutes left. And he remembers the incident of him ignoring Hanabi. And he thinks to himself that she might be really angry about him. While he was thinking about that, he looks at his side. And there was a girl packing her stuffs up. And she takes up a book and she started to read that book. And suddenly a strong wind comes in, making a piece of paper fly off. And realizing that, Ichinos goes in to pick that up. And after picking it up he gave it to her. And after getting it, she blushingly thanks him. But this shocked him and he says you're welcome to her. And he asks her on why she was shocked to talk with him. To which she replies with that this is their first time speaking. And then time back. Hanabi was saying that he can't get a girlfriend, since he have no reason for a person to even speak with him. And that words hit him hard. Afterwards she says that she is dating him out of sympathy. And also she points out that there is a huge difference in her dating him, rather than him dating her. And she goes on by telling him that he doesn't even know how to talk to girls, so he should just stop talking with them since he will just make them uncomfortable. And then she says that he got no one else except her in his entire life. After hearing that, he thinks to himself that whenever he talked to someone except Hanabi, she will always scold him. And whether she is with him or not, he always avoided all the chances to talk to girls. And then he goes on by apologizing to her since he never tried to be friends with anyone until now, and also if that made her uncomfortable. But this just made her to blush. Afterwards she says that he never made her uncomfortable, and she goes on by introducing her name to him as Yoshiko Fumi. But to her surprise, Ichino says that he already knows her name. To which she says that she is happy to hear that. After that he looks at her and thinks that he made a conversation without any problem. Afterwards she asks him that after cutting his hair the whole class started to change their attention to him. But hearing that, he just says they will get bored of him soon. Just like watching a rare animal. After hearing that, she blushingly smiles saying that Ichino's is really funny. And while looking at her smiling, he realizes that this is nothing like talking with Hanabi, since he can be himself rather than acting. And then he goes on by thinking that talking with Hanabi is like getting scolded one-sidedly. Afterwards Fumi looks at him and says that she always wanted to talk with him, since he always waters the plant that was in the school. After that she says so because of that she thought he might be a kind person. To which he thinks that he was just killing time, since whenever he had to wait for Hanabi he actually had nothing to do, so he watered the plants. And all of the sudden he realizes that she said that she wanted to talk with him from long ago, which means she wanted talk with him when he was gloomy at that time. And then she says that lot of women's are making a huge fuss because he is so beautiful. And while blushing she says that he will more popular as the time goes on. After a while he was walking around, and he was playing something while some girls looking at him from behind. After that he goes to eat something and the cashier got rizzed by him. And then while he was eating he realizes that it's so peaceful, since he doesn't have to check his phone every time he gets notification. And after eating he decides to go home. While going in the train he thinks that today's detour after school and the whole day was really fun and fulfilling. And he goes on by thinking that talking to his classmates is really fun. But he always doesn't want to talk with them, since Hanabi told him to not. But now he can talk with them freely. And then to his surprise, Hanabi was standing there. And after looking at him she starts to smile. And she tells him to welcome. After that she tells him that she was waiting for him 2 hours. And she asks him on why he is breaking the rules she made on what he should do when he wants to take a detour after school. And Ichino's was just silent. And he just walks around her, which shocked Hanabi. Afterwards she blocks him by saying she waited for him this long. To which he thinks that she is always like this, talking one-sided. And then she says on how dare he get friendly with his classmates, even though she told him that she will do bad things if he did that. After hearing that he realizes she did mention something like that in the message. And he goes on by asking her if she just waited here for 2 hours just to talk about this rubbish. Afterwards he tells to her that they're now strangers from now onwards. Hearing that, she asks him if he is actually breaking up with her. And he answered yes without thinking. And this just made her embarrassed. And then she tells him that he can't live a normal life without her. To which he said being with her is what made him miserable. And then all of the sudden she grabs his hands and says that he became a fool just by fooling around in just a day, since all people that approached him today was just because of his looks. And there is nobody there for him to tell that truth except her. And she goes on by asking him to apologize to her, since he needs someone to look after him. Afterwards she says that she will forgive him, since she got a huge heart. but he still needs to apologize to her. And she smilingly looks at him, to which Ichinos replies with that he can't do apologize. And the thought to reject her is getting stronger and stronger the more she speaks to him. After that he says that she is not needed in his life anymore. After hearing that she says that she is the one that wants to dump a hair-headed guy like him. To which he says that won't happen, since they aren't even dating anymore. And before leaving she says that she really angry at him. And she ran away from him. Afterwards he was relieved to think that she finally accepted the fact they broke up. After that few days have passed. And then he always see her after school. But it's not like he is having her in mind, but she just pops up in front of him every time. And he was happy since she is not talking with him anymore. And then he goes on by thinking that every time he goes to pick her up in the morning, she always makes him to wait outside for at least 30 minutes for the most random reason. But he was confused, since Hanabi is always getting to the station before him. And then he finally realizes that she made him wait outside on purpose. Afterwards he notices that she is talking with someone, who is same year as Ichinos. And Hanabi was asking him on how much he loves her. And he calls her using a pet name, while saying she is the first one currently. And hearing that she asks him if he is comparing somebody with her. While Ichinos was just standing there disappointed. Afterwards she says that she is gonna cast a magic on him, which will make him love her only. To which he replies with that he will not look at anyone except her, since she was way too cute. While Ichinos was thinking that they should at least look everyone. Afterwards he decides to take a earlier train, so he can avoid them. And after 2 days Ichinos was shocked. Since yesterday they weren't in the train he took, but now she is here. And he goes on by thinking that it can't be a coincidence. While riding the train he thinks to himself that it's like she is telling him that she got a boyfriend now. But he just ignores her. And then she was embarrassed again. And after a while Hanabi tells to him that she is doing it because she wanted to tell him that he got no bitches. And to which Ichinos says that there is one right in front of him. Afterwards at the next morning everyone in the classroom says good morning to him. And the first period was in physical education class. And then the teacher says that he is now going to decide on who is going to run in the relay race at the coming sport day. And he goes on by saying that being in the anchor position will make them popular with girls, so run faster. Which made the boys to get motivated. Afterwards Ichinos goes on by thinking that he always tried to get an average score in every race. And time back when he was in kindergarten he scored first. And small Ichinos was happy to receive the medal. And then Hanabi comes in and tears off that medal. And she tells to him that she hates on how he looks while he was running. It was like a horse. And she goes on by telling him to run slower. And after that incident Ichinos started to run slower on purpose. And every year when the sports day comes she will always tell him to run slower. Afterwards he goes on thinking that he just doesn't want to hide his true potential anymore in the shadows. And then he decides to not hold back anymore. And then he gets into the stance. And the race starts. And while everyone is running Ichinos thinks that it's so easy to run. Since he doesn't need to adjust his speed by looking at his side. And then he reached to the ending line. And he looks back to see the results. And everyone is shocked, even the teacher also, since the other runners are still running. And this shocked Ichinos. Afterwards everyone is so shocked since he almost broke the record timing. Hearing that he was shocked since if he was really that fast. And then the boys tells him to be a anchor position, since they can easily win if he does that. And all of them started to speak themselves saying that they can easily win if he joined the race. And after hearing that Ichinos says sorry, since what he did now might be a fluke. And he doesn't actually participate in any clubs to begin with. Hearing that everyone has started to feel down. And then they started to beg him saying that he should do the anchor position. And hearing that he decides to accept their request. And everybody was really happy since he accepted. And then Haruta says thanks to him for joining the run. To which he just says that he happy that they are thinking that high of him. Hearing that Haruta says that he is really a good guy. And everyone joined in saying that they're falling for him more and more. Afterwards in the classroom all the girls were thinking the same since the handsome guy is participating in the race while not being in a club. Afterwards Ichinos was thinking that he can't believe he was loner until now. While Haruta is introducing him to new girls. And Ichinos thinks that as soon as he parts way with Hanabi his life had taken a good turn. Afterwards in the class, Fumi asks him that he is getting too much attention lately. To which he just tried to talk it out by saying everyone will get bored of him anyway. To which she says that he is like a hero in this school now. Afterwards she goes on by saying that she wished that she had a good reflexes like him. And she asks him if he got any tips that she could use, to which he replies with he doesn't know anything like that. After hearing that Fumi says that she wants to skip this sports day. To which he asks her on if she hates sports day. And she says that she sure do hate it a lot. After hearing that Ichinos thinks that he wished that he could help her. And then while they were speaking someone comes in. And it was a guy named Hazuki Chiaki. Afterwards Ichinos realizes that he was also a guy that set a record today morning. But he was the second fastest runner. And then he asks him on if he is going to give his all to when he runs the relay today. And he goes on by asking him if he is willing to die just to run this race. And to which Ichinos says that he doesn't plan on dying though. Hearing that he says it will be problem, since he have a favor to ask to Ichinos' ability. And Ichinos surpassed his record with ease. And he even says that he admits defeat. But he wants Ichinos to beat the other class anchor, Kirigaya Taichi. Hearing that both Fumi and Ichinos was shocked and confused.